Unfortunately, yes. And this is a tough one for me personally to admit. I used to be the biggest horror fan. I have a massive horror tattoo on my leg, and I had like an insane collection of horror memorabilia. There wasn't one horror movie that you could tell me about that I hadn't already seen. But I completely stopped watching horror. And I did so for a couple reasons. So I talk a lot about sound and music on here, and one of the things that made me come to the conclusion about music being not the best for us was that I was reading this study about horror movies where they said that if you get too scared when you're watching a movie, you should cover your ears and not your eyes, because it's actually the infrasound that scares you. And infrasound is an inaudible sound that they record from like earthquakes and volcanoes and like atomic bombs and stuff, and they add it in the background of horror movies and a lot of like rap songs to create like atmospheric effects. And then I started learning that a lot of horror movies, when they're like casting spells or like speaking in tongues, but like the bad version, I don't know if there's a different name for that, they're using like legit spells. I had no idea. Like, if you actually translate them, they are using legitimate spells. So when you go to see it or you put it like on your TV in your home, now like that spell is like there. And then I started to think about how demonic entities feed off of fear and negative emotion. And then when you look at it from the standpoint of sacred geometry and stuff like that, what we perceive and give our energy to is like what materializes. So we're like all going to see these big scary movies and giving energy to these evil forces. I don't say that to say that like Pennywise is going to come out of the screen. I'm just saying like we're probably feeding into evil forces. And Jesus says in the Bible, like, our eyes are the windows to our souls. So watching scary movies, you know what I mean, like you're looking at like disturbing images. This one's gonna rustle some feathers, but this also really applies to true crime. I used to listen to true crime podcasts every day, and when I was listening to the most true crime and watching horror movies like almost every day, I was so anxious, I probably needed medication. Like, I could hardly function. So yeah, this was one of the hardest pills for me personally to swallow, because I loved horror, but I refuse to watch it anymore. Like, I can't tell you the last time I've watched a horror movie. I'm not judging anybody that still chooses to, but proceed with caution if you do.